Hi students, in our first year history, we are discussing first year model paper. In this already we completed what is our model paper, what are the important questions are placed in long answer, short answer and very short answer. In this already we completed two important questions, long questions in our previous videos. Now we are going to discuss remaining questions. Okay, this is Ramohan, DL History, Government Junior College, Kachiguda. You know, in our question paper, in section A, 6 long questions are there. Among them, 2 already we have completed. Now moving to third important question. Okay, this question many times repeated, so that please concentrate on this question and answer. Here, bring out the main features of Mauryan administration. Mauryas, the first great rulers in India, that is Mauryan dynasty only. There are Maurya Chandragupta, Ashoka were very great rulers, important rulers. To know about Mauryan administration, we have wonderful sources. They are Ardhashastra. It was a masterpiece. This Ardhashastra was written by Kautilya. Another name also he had, it is Chanakya. Another one, Vishnugupta also. Whatever it is, one is Ardhashastra, one of the important sources to know about Mauryan administration. Moving to next important literary source, that is Megasthenes Indica. Indica, which was written by Megasthenes, who was an ambassador to the Mauryan's court during the Maurya Chandragupta. He wrote a wonderful book, that is Indica. It also exhibited the city administration, especially Pataliputra city and the society and the art and architecture of Mauryas also. So, these are the two important sources to know about the Mauryans administration. Students, here, while writing Mauryan administration, in introduction part, you have to write here sources. What are the sources we have here? One is Kautilya Ardhashastra, another one is Megasthenes Indica. First one, Kautilya Ardhashastra book is very important. It was a masterpiece to know about the Maurya's administration. And not only that, Kautilya was worked as the Prime Minister of Maurya Chandragupta. Second one, Megasthenes, he was a Greek ambassador and he visited Pataliputra city during Maurya Chandragupta. So that these two important sources to know about them. Now moving to according to these sources, we are going to discuss now what is the administration of Mauryans. First of all, central administration. Of course, king exercise here many powers, legislative powers, executive powers, judicial powers. Okay, he had judicial court, he had executive powers, everything, all powers concentrated in the hands of the emperor. As you know, Maurya Empire was the first empire in Indian history. Mauryan kings are first emperors in our Indian history. So that remember, Maurya kingdom was the first emperor kingdom, first empire in Indian history, and the rulers are first emperors, because among 16 Mahajanapadas, Magadha was first powerful one. So among Magadha rulers, this dynasty was very powerful. So central administration, king exercised of course absolute powers, unlimited powers, even though he was assisted by Mantri Parishad. This Mantri Parishad ready to give advices to the king, the highest person in the country. So here, the Mantri Parishad consists here, the important people, especially it consists of 18 ministers. Among them, the 4 are very, very important. They are Mantri, Yuvaraja, Purohita and Senapati. These are the important portfolios of the Mantri Parishad. Among them, the Mantri, who was prime minister, who maintained here, the rest of the minister who looked after here. Okay, these are the important portfolios, and among them, these portfolios were okay allocated by only the king, especially the princes, noble family members only. Okay, seated or adorned in this post. And now moving to the their strength of the Mauryan strength, the military strength. To know about this one also, we have already Megasthenes Indica. According to that, Mauryan's army consists of 6 lakh of foot soldiers, 30,000 cavalry, 9,000 elephants, 8,000 chariots. This is the strong army, okay, powerful army of the Mauryas. Now moving after central administration, moving to the provincial government. You know, the Mauryan kingdom divided into Janapadas. As you know, 16 Mahajanapadas already located. So, like that, the entire kingdom, Mauryan kingdom, divided into Janapadas. Each Janapada was headed by prince. Okay, and Janapadas again divided into Pradeshas, and Pradesha was headed by Purusha. And of course, the basic unit in administration was village. The head of the village was Gramani. Okay, Gramani was a village officer. He was the responsible person in a village administration. Now moving to the revenue administration of Mauryans. Of course, land income was the chief source of income. As we know, Mauryans collected the tax, land tax, 1 by 4. In some cases, it was increased into 1 by 6 also. So 1 by 4, you write 1 by 4 and 1 by 6. Okay. Now moving to to collect the tax, here important persons were allocated. That is, one member is Gopa. Gopa is the revenue officer in village to collect the tax. And one more in Pradesh and Janapada, Samaharta also there. He was the chief of the revenue administration. So two important persons you have to remember here. One is Gopa, another one is Samaharta. These are the two important persons appointed to collect the taxes from the people or farmers. Now moving to the next one. Here, to know about the military administration, as you know, different sources. Here, to maintain the military administration, 30 members were appointed. These 30 members appointed are what you call made into different groups, made different committees also. So, total 6 committees are there. Each committee consists of 5 members. 6 into 5, total 30. So, 30 members here look after the military administration. One committee army, one committee cavalry, one committee elephants, one committee chariot, one committee navy, another one is transport. Like that, they had to look after these activities of military administration. Now moving to the next one, judicial administration. Of course, King Court is the highest court in the country, in empire. But even though the administration, the different courts also established by the Mauryan kings, especially Dharmasteya, Kantaka Shodhana. Dharmasteya is the civil court. Kantaka Shodhana was the criminal court. Here, Dronamukha, Parvatika, these are the important judges also appointed by the king. So, severe punishments, of course, levied by the kings. But in the time of Ashoka, the severity was decreased to some extent. But the rest of the kings followed here severe punishments only. And now moving to the city administration. As you know, to know about city administration, Megasthenes Indica is the best source because he visited Pataliputra. He had whatever he had, he written down in a wonderful book, that is Indica. So how Pataliputra, the entire city, how it was administered by different people and what are the plans they inculcated, everything it was written in Indica's book. So Nagarika, this is the Nagarika was the head of the each city, especially besides Pataliputra, Ujjaini, Girnar, Takshashila. These are the important cities in Mauryan Empire. So that each city was headed by Nagarika. He was the now present mayor. You can compare Nagarika with the present mayor in our present administration. So this is the main features of Mauryan administration. Students, here important points once you notice. Two resources, one is Kautilya Ardhashastra, another one is Megasthenes Indica, and central administration, provincial administration, revenue administration, judicial administration, and military administration. These are the administration points. You see, we have to concentrate only administration. Don't write any economy, okay, any religion, art and architecture. Because the king concentrated, of course, on all development of commerce, development of agriculture, development of trade and commerce, of course. But even though we have to write here only administration. So concentrate on central, provincial, judicial, revenue and other revenue administration, like that only. So each city, how it was divided, each kingdom divided into so many pradeshas, janapadas, and who was the head of the Janapada Pradesh also, you have to mention, and who are the important person to collect that land tax also, you have to write in answer script. Okay, this is the important question in our model paper, that is the features of Mauryan administration. Now question number 4 in our section A, the long question is, explain the military achievements of Samudragupta. In Gupta dynasty, Samudragupta was very powerful ruler, important ruler and great ruler also, because the Gupta dynasty was established by Srigupta, and there are Chandragupta 1, Samudragupta, Chandragupta 2. Important rulers are many, but even though Samudragupta occupied a special place in Gupta dynasty. Of course, he ruled half century from 335 AD to 380 AD. He was the son of Chandragupta 1. Okay, very courageous, great ruler in this dynasty. To know about Samudragupta, we have wonderful sources. One is one important archaeological source, that is Allahabad inscription. Allahabad pillar inscription was engraved by his commander, that is Harisena. Harisena prepared here Allahabad inscription. This inscription showing the achievements, victories of Samudragupta. Because Samudragupta invasions divided into two kinds. One is northern conquest, another one is southern conquest. Because as an emperor, he had to expand the territories into another level. That's what he concentrated, first of all, on northern side, later moving to the south side. First of all, in northern conquest, you see Nagadatta, Chandravarma, Ganapati Naga, Nagasena, Balavarma and Achyutanaga. These are all important northern side rulers were defeated. Later, Mahendra of Kosala king, Vyagraraja of Mahagandhara, these rulers also completely defeated by Samudragupta. So, in northern conquest, while writing, we have to write the name and their kingdom also. Because, as you know, there are number of Mahajanapadas, okay, in ancient India. So that to expand the territories of Gupta dynasty, he defeated many northern kings. That's what you have to write these names in northern conquest. Later, Mahendra of Pistapura, Swamidatta of Irikottura, Hastivarma of Vengi, Ugrasena of Pakala, Vishnugopa of Kanchi. These are the rulers also completely defeated by Samudragupta in south conquest. So, two types of conquest here. One is northern conquest, another one is southern conquest. So, total kings completely defeated by Samudragupta. That's what, after his invasions, after his conquest, the entire Gupta dynasty expanded into, from Himalayas to Narmada river, from north to south you can see, from east to west, that Yamuna, Chambal river to Brahmaputra river. The entire North India under the control of Samudragupta. So he brought the political unification into one hand. Okay, that is Samudragupta's achievement. Later, he conquered here southern part of India also. So many kings completely defeated by Samudragupta. Okay, even the foreign king, Ceylon king Meghavarma also sent an embassy to the Samudragupta court. Okay, he offered rich booty also. Later, with his request, Samudragupta built a monastery at Bodh Gaya. So, because of Buddhist pilgrims, many people from Sri Lanka visited the Buddhist pilgrim centers in India, especially where Gautama Buddha got enlightenment under the people tree in Bodh Gaya. So, to visit that place, many people are coming from Sri Lanka. So, with his request, Meghavarma, Samudragupta built a monastery in near Bodh Gaya. So, later, he got the many titles also. Once you see king poet, because he composed many poems. So he concentrated even literature also. That's what he got the title King's Poet. And one more title he got, that is Indian Napoleon. Our historians described here his achievements compared with the France ruler Napoleon. How Napoleon defeated the neighborhood kings. Like that, Samudragupta also conquered here neighborhood kings. He defeated the North kings, South kings. Okay, that's what here he was compared with the France ruler Napoleon. That the title was given by historians Indian Napoleon. And to know about his greatness, another important source, that is Ashwamedha and Rajasuya. These are the two sacrifices he performed here. Ashwamedha and Rajasuya sacrifices also Samudragupta performed here. So these sacrifices, these practices showing here how the conquests were moved one place to another one. Now, moving to the coins. Samudragupta minted here 8 different coins. Archery type, quad type, tiger type, like that. 8 coins he issued, most of them gold coins only. So, to know about the Samudragupta, we have archaeological sources like Allahabad inscription, coins, and his court, and about his buildings. Moving to the literature also, he was the king poet. He encouraged the literature, he encouraged the language, so that he got the title King's Poet also. So, to know about the Samudragupta, we have a lot of sources, so that all of them we have to write completely in our answer book. So, while writing Samudragupta, we have to remember North conquest, South conquest, his expansions, later how he was very great because of here his titles showing the greatness, and because of the friendship with the Ceylon king also, and the sacrifices, they're all showing the achievements of Samudragupta. Now, question number 5, write an essay on Sher Shah's administration. As you know, Sher Shah was a ruler of Mughal dynasty. He did not belong to Mughal dynasty, but even though he was considered an Mughal emperor, because after Humayun, he conquered, he ruled from 1540 to 1545. Okay, he belonged to Sur dynasty. After Humayun, he ruled only 5 years, a short span of 5 years, but even though it was continued by his successors. So, moving to the Sher Shah's administration. Okay, so in central administration, if you observe, he appointed 4 important ministers. One is Diwani Wizarat, Diwani Rasalat, Ariz Insha. These are the important portfolios created by Sher Shah. And moving to the provincial administration, so the kingdom was divided into different sarkars. In Sher Shah's time, we can see 47 sarkars there, and each sarkar was headed by Chief Shikdar, and the judicial administration was controlled by Chief Munsif. So, 2 important persons were appointed to look after the sarkars. One is Chief Shikdar, another one is Chief Munsif. You can see here central administration as well as provincial administration. Now, moving to the village administration, each village headed by, of course, village officers, accountant, chowkidars, patwaris. Okay, to collect the tax also, these people were appointed. His prime responsibility is to collect the taxes, to maintain the law and order, peace in each and every village. And especially, he was a great forerunner to Akbar because of his reforms in land administration. So, he was a forerunner, he was a very good guide to the Akbar's revenue policy. In land administration, first of all, he surveyed the land, entire land. Okay, in India, entire land was surveyed by Sher Shah. Especially, the basic unit of this land was called as Biga. 1/3 of the land tax it was collected by Sher Shah, and he abolished the Jagirdari system, which was provided before Sher Shah's time. Later, he issued pattas also. So, to farmers, he issued pattas. These pattas were called here Kabuliyat. Kabuliyat means the patta, means the rights to the farmers. The farmers' rights on the what they're cultivating land, on their lands, it was given as patta or Kabuliyat. So, in this policy, he was a great forerunner to the Akbar. So, in Sher Shah's administration, you can concentrate on central government, provincial government, and village government, especially coming into this one revenue administration also. And he issued a great coin, that is the Dam coin. So, this Dam coin was even after Sher Shah also, Mughals continued the coin, and even East India Company, Britishers also accepted Sher Shah's coins. Among them, Dam is very, very important. It had 180 gains. Among 180, 170 complete pure silver coin. So that even Mughal rulers also accepted. After that, the East India Company also accepted Sher Shah's coins. Public welfare schemes. Here, he gave a lot of importance to the transportation. That's what Grand Trunk roads for first time in India was built by Sher Shah only. Means the modern highways. Okay, first time in India built by Sher Shah only. These are called here Grand Trunk roads. Here, 4 important highways or Grand Trunk roads were built by Sher Shah. One is Sonargaon to Lahore, Agra to Burhanpur, Jodhpur to Chittor, another one Lahore to Multan. These are the important highways were connected and built by Sher Shah. And 1,700 sarais were maintained by Sher Shah. On highways, either side here, he built here 1,700 sarais, because these are called rest houses for the people, the pilgrims, the merchants, whoever it is, they can take rest in sarais. Moving to the judicial administration, Chief Qazi was appointed. Later Munsifs, Tikdars also take part in judicial administration. And severe punishments, of course, were given by these judicial officers. Moving to the police administration, police, many measurements were taken here. Different policies were observed by Sher Shah to improve the standards of land order. Now, coming into the buildings, he did not build any great buildings. Only one important buildings of his time, that is Purana Killa in old Delhi. Still we can see Purana Killa of Sher Shah. One more is his mausoleum at Sasaram in Bihar. These are the 2 important buildings of Sher Shah. One is Purana Killa in Delhi. Second one, mausoleum in Sasaram in Bihar state. These are the important buildings of Sher Shah. So, this is the question and answer of Sher Shah's administration. Section A, the last question, 6th question, write an account of the non-cooperation movement 1920 to 1922. Non-cooperation movement. As you know, it was a great movement. It was the first nationwide movement which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. After entering in Indian politics, Mahatma Gandhi, first time a nationwide movement started in 1920, August 1st. After Jallianwala Bagh massacre, many revolts were started, even Khilafat movement. Rowlatt, because of Rowlatt Act, this movement was started. Later, this nationwide movement, first of all, Gandhiji gave a call. This call on 1st August 1920. So, this is the time when Balagangadhar Tilak was passed away. At that time, Mahatma Gandhi here started a new program, that is boycott program, and as well as these constructive programs in this movement. So non-cooperation movement means we should not cooperate to the Britishers. So Britishers were the rulers of India, so that we should not cooperate to the British government. So that he designed here two programs or two movements. One is boycott movement, another one is constructive movement. As part of boycott programs, there are quite important are there. One is return the titles, the honorary titles which were given by the British officials. We did not accept here. We have to return the titles to the British only. So whatever titles, okay, given by the Britishers, we have to return it. That is first boycott. Second one, boycott of all British government functions. Mean their activities. We should not cooperate. We should not participate in their programs and functions. And moving to next one, all government jobs means boycott all jobs. Teachers, lecturers, engineers, lawyers, doctors, whatever professions you have. So we have to boycott here all government jobs here. And all, okay, the courts, higher level to lower level, boycott all courts. Boycott foreign goods and foreign material, even foreign cloth also. So boycott foreign cloth, boycott foreign courts, the government courts here, boycott government jobs, boycott government functions, return the titles, British titles. So these are the boycott programs of Mahatma Gandhi in non-cooperation movement. Other hand, constructive programs also designed by Mahatma Gandhi in this non-cooperation movement. One is to collect the funds for the Tilak Swaraj Fund. So in the name of Tilak Swaraj Fund, Gandhiji collected almost 1 crore rupee, okay, to improve the national education, to increase the produce of khadi cloth. That's what establish of national schools and colleges. That's what he collected the amount almost 1 crore rupee. So first one is to collect the funds for the Tilak Swaraj Fund. Second one is weave yarn and produce the khadi cloth. Third one, eradicate of untouchability. Untouchability is prevailed in the country, so that untouchability is completely eradicated. He gave a call to Mahatma Gandhi in this program. And the prohibition of liquor, completely, okay, liquor was banned here. And in English, establish here national schools. English is the, of course, official language during the British rule. Now, establish here national schools and national colleges, means national medium, Hindi and other vernacular languages here completely supported, and in their language only we have to start here new schools and colleges. So these are the programs, okay, mentioned in constructive. So two programs here, one is boycott, another one is constructive. So when the movement was started in 1920, when was greatly inspired Indians in 1922 also. So when Chauri Chaura incident was occurred in Gorakhpur district in Chauri Chaura village, immediately Gandhiji called off the movement. So from 1920 to 1922, only 2 years, this non-cooperation movement was continued. When Gandhiji called off the movement, okay, it was completely stopped in India. So this is the important points in non-cooperation movement. So far, we have discussed here the long questions, okay. 4 long questions we have discussed earlier too. Total 6 long questions, okay, completely discussed here. These are very, very important. We can expect more questions from this model paper only. Students, please concentrate, read important points, whatever you are watching now, these points, and whatever you are reading from the textbook, add more points, and definitely you will get good marks in this from section A.